bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. This week, we're taking a look at a Joe called Bazooka.
Bazooka Joe was a comic character spokesperson for Bazooka Bubblegum, who appears with an eye patch. What the hell, dude?
What?
Are you using the same gag you used last week?
Maybe?
And why does my voice sound like it's been dubbed over? Oh God, are you even reusing the same footage?
Pay no attention to the man that's standing just off screen there.
You disgust me. Get to the proper review.
Fine.
Yes, of course, today we're here to talk about Bazooka, the Joe's bazooka guy. Okay, technically he's a missile specialist who uses armor-defeating weaponry.
So, a bazooka.
His first figure was released in 1985, during the golden age of GIJoe, with all original body parts. So, you know, it's not gonna suck. Bazooka is enjoying the, casual dress code the Joe team seems to have. We've seen Joes in military outfits, or in attire fitting for their job. This guy just comes to work in a football jersey. And nobody seems to mind. The colors indicate that he's a fan of the New England Patriots, by the way, and quarterback Steve Grogan in particular. While some might find this casual Friday look irksome, I feel it adds character to the Joe team, so I quite like the look of the figure itself.
And as is usual for figures from this time, he comes with a great set of accessories.
First, there's his missile launcher, not an actual bazooka, since it had been pointed out to Hasbro that bazookas hadn't actually been used in the military for over 30 years when this figure came out. Second, an appropriate backpack, with small missiles for his launcher. Sadly, these are not removable, and worse, the tips can break off fairly easily. Lastly, he has a neat-looking helmet that's unfortunately made of hard plastic, so it can damage his paint. Overall, I'd have to say this is another great figure from a great lineup. His second figure will be our first look at Tiger Force, the first G.I. Joe sub-team ever created, and one that started some annoying traditions within the toy line. For one thing, Tiger Force figures were all repaints of previously released figures, with one exception, Sky Striker, who was a repaint of two figures put together. For another thing, Tiger Force started the trend of releasing drivers and vehicles separately. Bazooka is supposed to be the Tiger Shark driver, though why the hell a missile specialist would be driving a boat, I have no freaking idea. The figure itself from 1988 is, well, just like the first one, only in worse colors. I really dislike his pants. They look quite ugly and the tiger pattern seems half-assed. Also, he seems to have switched his football allegiance to the Oklahoma Sooners, who had a great season in 1987 but lost the Orange Bowl. Okay, so that's probably just a coincidence, they needed an alternative color scheme, but you never know. Overall, I prefer the original. Yeah, this is a sentiment you're gonna hear me express a lot when it comes to Tiger Force.
Things didn't get weird until his third and final figure from the original toy line came out in 1993.
I mean, what is even the hell? Okay, I bet you thought Spider-Man was the only one out there with a fisherman outfit. Well, guess what? G.I. Joe did it too. Yep, this guy is ready to go fishing. And if you think this is just a coincidence, and the outfit just happens to resemble something you'd wear while fishing, you just wait till we get to the file card. I have nothing to add here. This figure has got me stumped.
I can only acknowledge and applaud the sheer goofiness that is Fisherman Bazooka.
You need this figure in your collection just because. My only critique is that he doesn't actually come with a fishing pole. I'm afraid he comes with some horrible generic neon green guns. Truly a wasted opportunity. But I bet if you shop around, you can find a fishing pole in the appropriate size. In 2004, Bazooka got a few more toys made. But they called him Sergeant Bazooka. Probably something to do with copyrights again. And I'm afraid it's not a very good figure. For one thing, it's rather bland, and for another, it doesn't really look like Bazooka at all. It mostly resembles Zap, if I'm honest with you. Maybe they were going for Zap, but didn't have the copyright anymore, so they just made him Bazooka.
So, let's take a closer look at the character, starting with his file cards.
And it turns out Bazooka used to be a tank jockey, until he realized that any yahoo with a rocket launcher could take out $1 million tank with little or no training. So he transferred out to do just that. And damn, he got very good at it. He became an expert on basically all the handheld missile and RPG systems there were. On top of that, he's qualified to dispose of explosive ordnance. So, he's an expert on defusing or safely disposing of bombs. Any type of bomb, up to and including tactical nukes. Dude is very, very talented.
Remember that! It's gonna hurt later.
The file card ends with a quote, presumably from General Hawk himself. Subject is a decisive, fast thinker, with all the instincts of a natural survivor.
I'm quite impressed here.
The Tiger Force file card says basically the same thing. Bazooka knows how to use missile launchers. But it does add that he also drives the Tiger Shark, the vehicle that was sold separately. No, I'm not bitter. But then we come to the third and final file card. The fishing one. Oh boy.
It starts off with a quote from the man himself. When I explode into battle against those puny cobra vipers, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. That physically hurt to read.
This file card omits his proficiency with missile launchers and instead mentions that he drives vehicles. That's because he's the dedicated blockbuster driver in this incarnation. Again, while being sold separately from the vehicle. And I think that this is some kind of an error they made, because, well, the Blockbuster vehicle already had a driver that was in fact packaged with the vehicle, namely Windchill. I can of course only speculate, but I'm guessing that they meant to write Mudbuster instead of Blockbuster, since the Mudbuster was a vehicle that was sold without a driver at that time, and he's even on the cover art for it. But let's face it, that's not the real story here, because we haven't even gotten to the fishing yet. As it turns out, traveling all over the world fighting Cobra has made Bazooka quite homesick, specifically for his favorite hobby, fishing.
Because he likes fishing now, apparently.
The file card even makes sure to mention that this is no fish story, and that Bazooka trained at the Wildman Fishing Academy.
And all this information is found on what's supposed to be a real military record. Once again, I can only sit here and applaud the absurdity of it all.
I mean, apparently, in GIJoe, you can dress however the hell you like, even if it means dressing up to let the world know what your favorite hobby is. Let's all just be grateful he wasn't into World of Warcraft. Well, those were the file cards, so let's move on to the comic. I can be brief here. Bazooka was introduced in issue 44, an issue that keeps coming up here on Half the Battle, and will continue to crop up, because it introduces so many damn new characters. Sadly, Bazooka doesn't really do much, apart from throwing a non-functional cannon at a battle android trooper, taking its head off. So, he's kinda just there, and that says it all, really. Yeah, I'm afraid that, as far as the comic is concerned, he shows up every now and again in the background, but he's never the focus of a story. If I had to speculate, I'd say Larry Hama may have disliked having a bazooka soldier in a military that doesn't actually use any bazookas.
So, let's move on to the cartoon. For those of you familiar with the cartoon, you know what's coming. For those of you not familiar with the cartoon, you have no idea what's coming. So, you want to know what Bazooka was like on TV? Let me show you.
Fudgies! Say what? Fudgies! Ignore Cobra Commander. He's a jerk.
Let's go back to the file card for just a moment, shall we? Subject is a decisive, fast thinker with all the instincts of a natural survivor.
Whoa! What the heck is that? Funny.
Subject is a decisive, fast thinker with all the instincts of a natural survivor.
Bazooka! We need some support here! You got it! Ooh.
Yeah, he's an idiot. A complete and total idiot.
The man has been completely gimlied. He's gone from a well-thought-out smart character on paper to freaking comic relief.
Oh, and that bit on the file card where he's supposed to be a bomb disposal expert, up to and including tactical nukes? Well, maybe you figure this guy is like Rain Man in the cartoon, so he's actually very good with handling explosives.
First, blue. Second, red. Then,
There's only one left.
right,
Yeah, not so much. And his most stupid moment of all?
Unsurprisingly, that came in the ocean of stupidity known as the cinematic opus that was the GIJoe cartoon movie. Now, Bazooka is only in it for a few minutes, but boy does he shine. He is one of the Joes tasked with guarding Serpentor, who had been captured earlier. They come under attack from Nemesis Enforcer, a supernatural creature that can shrug off laser fire. So, what does Bazooka, the freaking missile expert, do? He takes his rocket launcher and runs up to the unstoppable monster and hits him in the head with it. Let me just repeat that. He takes his missile launcher, that has a missile in it, and uses this weapon, a device which function seems fairly obvious from the way it looks and its name, as a club.
I gotta stop doing that. We should probably be thankful that the cartoon was over before he got his fishing gear. Because otherwise, I'm willing to bet he'd have tried to use his fishing rod to hunt bear.
But to be completely fair to Bazooka, it's not all bad. In the cartoon, you'd often see Bazooka and Alpine together, and they make the perfect odd couple. I really like the dynamic between these two, and it does much to alleviate the fact that they dropped his IQ by 50 points. I was also happy to see that the Bazooka-Joe connection wasn't lost on the people who made the cartoon, as Bazooka is frequently seen blowing bubblegum. Bazooka's humiliation didn't end with the cartoon, though. Years later, when the Image comics rolled around, this is how they portrayed Bazooka. An old, out-of-shape, has-been comic relief. It's probably because they based some of the stuff in the new comic off the cartoon.
So, that was Bazooka. My final thoughts?
Well, as far as the toys go, the first one is the best, no doubt. The Tiger Force version is ugly, but forgettable, so I recommend you do just that. Bazooka with real fishing action though? Oh, you need this figure just for the weirdness of it all. No collection is complete without it. Both the file cards and the comic paint him as a skilled, competent soldier, but he doesn't get much development.
Well, apart from the fishing, obviously.
As far as the cartoon goes, well, what can I say really? You're either gonna love or hate his portrayal in the cartoon. There is no in-between. Overall, one of the most interesting characters in G.I. Joe for both good and bad.
Join me next week when we'll be concluding our Bazooka fortnight with a look at the cartoon episode Bazooka Saw a Sea Serpent. See you next week, everybody!
Bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum.